Hi, everybody. Today I'm going to be teaching you how to find and fill out your supervisor agreement. So go ahead and go to the BBS website. That's bbs.ca.gov. You're going to hover over applicant and you're going to click LMFT. Go to forms and publications, click on forms, and then we're going to scroll down and find our supervision agreement right here. I want you to just point something out to you. This is for supervisory relationships that began on or after January of 2022. That probably applies to most of you if you're watching this, because right now it is July of 2022, but I just wanted to point that out. Go ahead and open this. And this is what it looks like. As you're going to see, it's kind of a long form, but do not fret. We are going to go over it and I'll make it as easy as possible. One thing that I do want to mention is that you want to make sure that you read these instructions carefully. And this agreement has to be completed within 60 days of the supervisory relationship beginning. So don't worry, you don't have to get this done in order to be able to receive supervision or start receiving supervision, I should say. But when your supervisory relationship starts, make sure that this form is fully completed within 60 days, okay? So the nice thing about this form is that you can type directly into it, and then you can download it and have your supervisor sign off on it. I have a version that I filled out for you as an example. So we're going to go through this together so you get a good sense of what everything is. Of course, you are the supervisee, so go ahead and put your name. Go ahead and put the name, the date where the supervisory relationship was established. This basically means when did you start practicum? For the current status, you're going to put MFT trainee. I want to note that associates use this form as well. As you can see, there's different associateship types with that information. But for now, just put in that you are an MFT trainee. Speaking of associateships, there's one more thing I want to mention. Some people who do their traineeship with one supervisor might go on to do their associateship with the same supervisor. If you fall into that category, you do not have to do this form again as an associate. Your supervisor only has to sign this form once. So let's go down to part one. This is to be completed by your supervisor, but it'll include their name, the type of license they have. For this mock one, I've put that they're a licensed clinical psychologist, their license information. I also want to point out that on the BBS website, you can actually look up your supervisor's licensing information to make sure that everything is current and that their license is not expiring soon. We do have a tutorial on how to look that information up. One thing that I want to mention here is that if the supervisor is licensed for less than 2 years in the state of California, they have to have been licensed for at least 2 years in another state. So if that's the case with you, make sure that they have the information from their other state listed here. By the way, at the top of each page, you are going to have to repeat the name of your supervisor and your own name. This auto-populated for me when I filled it out, but I'm just pointing this out to you as a heads up. Okay, let's get into supervisor qualifications because this can be a little bit confusing, but it's a lot less intimidating than it looks. Have you been issued any of the following quote unquote approved supervisor designations? This is a question for your supervisor to answer. These are just different types of supervisory designations or trainings. Now, your supervisor might not fall into any of these categories, and that's okay. I put no here because my supervisor is a licensed clinical psychologist who has not done any of these designations. That is totally fine. If the answer is no, we're going to go to question 5 and 6 below. So let's go to question 5 and 6 real quick. And this basically just makes sure that they have completed the training and coursework that needs to be done in order for them to be a supervisor. Now, one thing I'm going to point out here is that supervisors who are clinical psychologists or psychiatrists do not have to complete with 5 and 6. The other exception to that as well is if they have checked yes in this box here. So once again, this is more information that your supervisor should be filling out, but I think it's good for you to know what this is as well. So under this part, your supervisor is going to initial all of these here and here and here. And as you can see, it continues on. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, well, if my supervisor is initialing all of these, I don't really need to worry about this stuff. Well, you don't need to worry about it, but I highly recommend reading through this because you're then getting a good idea of what your supervisor is obligated to provide for you in supervision. And it's good to know what they've initialed on. So go ahead and scroll down past all these supervisor initials. And then this is where your supervisor is going to sign here with the date. One thing that I should mention that I've mentioned in other BBS videos, make sure that the signature is written. It can be written with ink or with a mouse pad like I've done here in this example. Just make sure that the signature is written because that is what the BBS deems as an acceptable signature, okay? So let's go to part 2, which is to be completed by you, the supervisee or the trainee. You should read through all of these points and you should initial. I'm going to go through some of the important ones. Sometimes you'll see that it'll mention an associate registration and you might be like, wait, what? I'm not an associate. It's okay, just initial. Since associates do use these forms as well, sometimes there are segments that apply to them, but it's just good to kind of initial it to signify that you understand. Let's see. What this basically says is that you're not getting paid to see clients by your practicum site, and that you're not necessarily paying rent for the space, paying for furniture, equipment, anything like that. Another thing that I will point out is that all of your hours must be completed within 6 years of applying for licensure. So you can have 6 years as an associate to meet all of the licensure requirements. And this is where your signature is going to come down here, once again, written either with ink or with a mouse pad. All right. So let's move on to part 3, which is the supervisory plan. This is a plan that you and your supervisor are going to collaboratively come up with about what the goals and objectives of supervision are. So for example, I highly encourage you to think about what you want as part of your supervisory plan. Let's say you're really interested in learning about CBT, and that's something you want to bring up to your supervisor. That's something great to put here. Your supervisor probably also has goals and objectives that they want for you in order to make sure that you are getting high quality supervision that they'll put here. So this is just basically a very collaborative part when you and your supervisor can lay out a game plan as to what you want to accomplish in supervision. This part of the supervisory plan is going to continue. Once again, make sure that you read through all of this. This is basically just saying that it was developed collaboratively, and your supervisor is going to sign here at the top, and then your signature is going to be here at the bottom. And once you're done with this, please upload this to your Tavera account when you have all of the appropriate signatures, and keep it somewhere safe because this is a very, very important document. With all of your BBS documents, I highly recommend uploading them into Tavera and keeping them somewhere safe, whether that's a physical binder or a file on your computer. So this is the supervision agreement. If you have any questions at all, please reach out to your GA team or your clinical training coordinator. We'd love to help you out. Thank you so much. Have a good one. Bye-bye.